Hello, all here at osmvdxreviews.com. You're watching our video review of the Samsung Trance, which is on service with Verizon Wireless here in the United States. The Samsung Trance is a CDMA handset, so it's not going to be able to be used in a global setting, especially if you plan on traveling with it, because very few countries have CDMA networks available versus something like GSM, which is very easy to unlock and switch carriers with. That said, the Samsung Trance is a very unique handset because it does use Bang and Olufsen sound quality with using a speaker that's known as Ice Power on the back. And as a result, this is one of those handsets that's officially licensed by Bang and Olufsen, which again, it's a very well-known audio company known for making expensive and exclusive sound and audio products that offer incredible sound quality. And again, it's more towards the professional range of speakers, so they are going to be very, very pricey. And something like that, using a speaker by a company like that built into a phone, is obviously going to raise a lot of expectations, and it's going to make a handset that people are going to expect to have great sound quality, a great music playback experience, and a great calling experience thanks to its earpiece and sound quality and amplification system that's built by this company. Otherwise, the Samsung Trance, again, it's a very music-infused device. It doesn't have too many fancy features that we haven't seen before, but as a feature phone, it really focuses on that multimedia aspect, as you might expect. The front of the phone looks quite like a violin because it's caved inwards on the sides, and again, it's quite artsy, and it's something that appeals to you. Again, it's a very uniquely designed handset. In terms of feeling and weight in your hand, it's quite plasticky, to be honest, and it's very slick feeling. That said, it does feel pretty solid in the hand. It could have been, again, amped by using a more soft touch material because it's very lightweight. Otherwise, the Samsung phone comes equipped with Bluetooth technology for listening to music wirelessly, as well as calling people wirelessly using a Bluetooth headset. You might expect, by looking at this device as well, it's very reflective, and it also has a touch-sensitive D-pad on the bottom for navigating through the main menu system. And as a result, the front face of this phone, which is again made out of glass, is a fingerprint magnet. And when you start using it, you're going to have a lot of smudges on it, especially if you're someone who likes things clean. You're going to have to carry around a cleaning cloth with you if you plan on using this device for long periods of time. Taking a look at the design, on the front of the device, you have access to the screen. Pretty bright and vibrant, we'll see that in a second. On the top is a earpiece, and below the touchscreen, when the phone is flipped open, you'll see that it has this hidden navigation array that consists of the OK 5-way D-pad, 2 hotkeys, a music key, and a clear key. And below these buttons, we have access to a T9 style dialer key, which also has the talk and power on and off keys. You also have access to a dedicated button for taking pictures with the camera on the back. Also, the buttons itself for the dialer pad are quite flush with the surface of the handset. As a result, they're kind of difficult to press, very similar to the Motorola Razr. If you're planning on using this to do a lot of texting on, you're probably going to be disappointed because the buttons are very flush and they're hard to discern from one another. On the left-hand side of the device, you have access to a lanyard cord followed by a volume rocker. You also have access to a unlock and lock key so that you can lock this phone or unlock it by pressing and holding it because the front is, again, touch sensitive. You don't want to be accidentally hitting any functions when it's in your pocket or jeans. Also down below here, we have access to a micro SD card slot. It's a great function that this is located just on the exterior of the phone and not beneath the back battery cover, and as a result, it's easy to hot swap cards. Even if you're navigating and using the phone, you can add more memory to the phone, expandable up to 32 gigs with a memory card. On the right-hand side of the device, you have access to a standard 3.5mm headphone jack, great for listening to music, very good feature. We have access to a volume mute button, as well as a charger slot for charging this handset using a proprietary Samsung charger. Sliding the phone up reveals the 1.3 megapixel camera on the back, which is not autofocus. Thankfully, it has a self-portrait mirror though, so it's easy to use camera if you're planning on taking pictures of yourself or family members. Still, it's nothing to write home about, and quite basic as well, and it is going to be protected when the phone is closed up like so. And beneath the battery cover, we find access to just basically the battery and some phone information, nothing too important. So powering the device on, you can see that the main menu does have a live wallpaper style animation. Right now it's based on this music theme that is quite, again, artsy and flashy. And as far as the navigation using the touch sensitive area is concerned, I would have rather preferred it to have been a standard button layout. And even though this is very cool, after you press it, the light will indicate and flash, showing that you have pressed something. And you can even allow the phone to have haptic feedback, so when you're pressing on it, it's going to make noises and buzz like a real button. Sometimes it's hard to control where your fingers are sliding because there isn't any hardware notification if you're pressing out of a button, and you have to be very articulate and very careful with your finger movements. Still, this is a capacitive sensor rather than a resistive one, so it's extremely sensitive to the touch, and so if you're planning on having something that's easy to use and quick and responsive, the capacitive menu navigation layout on the bottom is going to be something worthy of your attention here. Otherwise, a very basic Verizon layout as far as menu navigation goes. You can see that the screen is pretty bright and vibrant. It suffers from bad viewing angles though, so at extreme angles the screen is going to look extremely washed out and almost black, which is unfortunate. Otherwise, pressing the OK button will take you to the main menu, and you can navigate around using the standard Verizon main menu, and pressing C will clear your menu. This is, again, your MP3 playing functionality button that takes you to the music player. Pressing up, down, left, and right will take you to shortcuts directly that you can set up using the settings of this handset. For example, pressing down will bring me to the calendar, and I can see new events and go up and down through my different days and set different alarms and set different notifications for different stuff that's going to happen in my life in the future. It's pretty easy to use, pretty intuitive as far as the user interface is concerned. It's not very flashy, a little bit antiquated and outdated, but it still does the job quite nicely. The front of the screen also has your time, also your reception, also your battery information is also located on the top of the device. Pressing the side of the button will bring you to your contacts list, and you can scroll up and down through your different popular contacts, and pressing on a number will allow you to call that person directly, or also to see their information, their office number, their cell phone number, and their work phone, and their address information. It works pretty well, and as far as navigation using the touch-sensitive buttons, pressing it down will automatically scroll through your settings, so pretty easy to use. There's also a dedicated search icon which you can press on, and using the keyboard, search up. And the keyboard is backlit, so it's going to be easy to see under darker conditions. So I'm going to take a look at, by clearing this up, going to the camera, and I'm going to see how the camera works. You do need a memory card just to take pictures. As far as cameras are concerned, you do have a fair amount of operation settings on this handset, including a great viewfinder, navigation settings that include zooming in and out of the phone, ISO settings for making the pictures appear brighter and less bright, and overall pictures appear to be quite in focus, which is something that I didn't expect when I was first looking at this device. And pictures are actually surprisingly decent, and if you're looking for something that's easy to use and quick, your pictures can be taken effortlessly and then sent via Bluetooth or sent via MMS text message or any internet-based service that you can choose and select from, and it does the job. It's nice to have a camera with you, especially if you are going to go into a basic party or any event you go with you. They're not worthy to be printed out, but they're nice to have with you, again, to show family and friends. Going to the menu again, we can take a look at some other applications, fairly standard like we said before. I'll slide down and show you that. I'm going to lock this device by pressing this button on the side, and then go into the main menu again. The first application is basically just contacts. The second one, again, is your messaging. Typing messages with a T9 style keyboard is very tedious, and you're going to be pecking out numbers by pressing multiple times at different numbers on the keypad. It's by far much more time consuming than a QWERTY keyboard. So if you're someone that's looking for a feature phone that's messaging oriented rather than a feature phone that's multimedia oriented, might be a nice clarification if you're looking for that instead of this. Otherwise, it does the job if you have to. It just takes time. You have a recent call log, an email client, which supports a lot of different popular services. And let's go left and go into the email client. You can see mobile email and the mobile webmail. All works pretty well. As far as reception goes, Verizon has very good coverage, and this phone is no exception to the carrier. When we were here in Seattle, Washington, we found that we almost never had any drop bars, and so we were always in range of the cellular network. And as a result, call quality was very, very impressive. The earpiece was loud and clear. There was a surprising, there was a presence definitely of some buzzing, but it didn't annoy us too much. And overall, call quality was one of the better handsets offered by Verizon. As far as speakerphone mode goes, it's a very, very loud speaker thanks to the ICE power built in here by Bang and Olufsen. However, as far as clarity is concerned, I actually found this not to be the most clear speakerphone I've tested, which is a little bit concerning and surprising, keeping in mind that the audio technology in here is supposed to be awe-inspiring and just totally out of the park, but it isn't. So something that's interesting to take note of. As far as memory is concerned, the Samsung Trance actually comes with a built-in 1 GB of memory. That excludes the ability to expand using a memory card. So in total, if you have a 32 memory card that you want to put in here, it basically has the ability to store up to 33 gigs because it has a 1 gig internal storage that you can put music files and take images with the camera, and also do some basic app storage on its own. The game store basically allows you to install more games, and it's interesting because for once we're seeing a handset that isn't preloaded with a lot of bloatware by any carrier, and so Verizon actually didn't even include any trial games. So the downside to this is, of course, if you're in an airplane or you're stuck and waiting for transit, you're going to have to wait quite a long time, considering there isn't even a trial version of any games included onto this device. Media Center allows you to download more applications, music and tunes, your pictures. You can look at games, mobile web, browse and download. There's also extras on here, which is basically applications you can download, nothing too spectacular. Taking a look at pictures, you can look at my pictures, and if I press OK, it's going to show you how that works out. You can see that viewing picture on this thing is it's an okay experience. Again, the screen isn't the best on the phone we've seen, and also it's quite small. You can view a full screen mode and zoom in and out, but otherwise very limited in terms of that goes. Not the most enjoyable photo viewing experience, but it does the job, and if you have to, again, it shows off your pictures quite well. Let's go back. Going right, we have also email. Going down settings and tools, the MP3 player takes up an entire shortcut because it is the main feature of this phone. You also have a VZ Navigator application which allows you to use the assisted GPS service on this phone to have turn-by-turn directions. We found that the GPS service did a pretty good job of locating us and navigating us around, but again, because it doesn't have any accessories for holding the thing up in a car dashboard, it was a little bit tough to find a place to situate this phone and then allow it to talk to us and tell us when to turn and route us information because there isn't a holder in place in a car. As far as settings and tools go, we have Verizon tools, Bluetooth settings, display settings, touch settings. If you find this thing too sensitive or too unsensitive, you can increase and decrease the sensitivity level for the sensor. A USB mode for linking up to your computer basically dominates that feature. And finally, you have the music player functionality. Now, the surprising thing here is you'd expect that the music functionality on this phone to be absolutely out of the world, but because of copyright reasons, I actually can't play you any songs at the moment. But I can tell you right now, if you that the Bang & Olufsen ICE power sound speakers on this device, it does a decent job. I have to say, it is better than most music phones or phones with an MP3 player built in for sure. It offers a lot of bass and lots of clarity and a ton of loudness. So if you're planning on using something to blast out music, this is a great thing to use because it does quite a nice job of doing. The user interface is also basic and no frills. It displays cover art information, but sadly it doesn't use an accelerometer or anything to have a very fancy user interface experience. Otherwise, I thought that the speakers actually lacked some detail and clarity that I was kind of expecting. It isn't as good as the usual and standard standalone Bang & Olufsen speakers by a mile. And I have to say that if you are going to plan on listening to music with this handset, your best bet will probably be to be using the 3.5mm headphone jacks. And I found that after plugging in a pair of headphones, the sound quality was extremely good and easily matched anything from any iPod MP3 player out there. But with the standalone speakers on here, it actually isn't as good as I was expecting, especially with the Bang and Olufsen logo directly up below it. With that in mind, it's still a very good speaker, easily one of the best speakers we've tested in any smartphone or any feature phone, but just not out of the world audio quality that you might expect from, a company that's like that. Overall, the Samsung Trance is a very interesting device. It takes a lot of risks, and overall, I commend Samsung and Bang & Olufsen for doing that, for adding a great concept and a very well and beautifully crafted phone with a nice violin-shaped, touch-sensitive display. It has a lot of flash, has a lot of elegance, a great multimedia handset that tries to do a lot, and definitely accomplishes a lot of style and a lot of elegance. It just isn't as eye-popping and as out of this world as you might expect. I was, to be honest, expecting a little bit more from this Bang & Olufsen speakers built in, the loudspeakers, and perhaps I thought that this phone could have used a little bit more applications built in. But still, a solid phone if you know that you just want a phone with great MP3 playback capabilities and a pretty good camera and Bluetooth built in that looks nice and actually functions and it's very solid, solidly built, then perhaps the Samsung Trance will be the phone for you. Otherwise, I think there are actually a lot better phones out there, even in the music category. If you're looking for a smartphone, I would just recommend you to go with the Android or an iOS-based device or a Windows phone per se. Otherwise, if you're looking for something basic and no frills, this might be an interesting backup phone or a phone for younger and older audiences alike. Thanks for watching here at osandvdxreviews.com. That's been our video review of the Samsung Trance with the Bang & Olufsen Ice Power speaker built into the back of this particular model.